Okay, the square brackets, I don't understand. Okay, we're talking about the end of voice, the second paragraph of Vayeitzei. The general theme is without the square brackets. So, and he wants to say that the Bechiris originally would get the Avodah. Why did he get to the union of Bechir? So to explain David and Yosef. So to explain that, from the Bittul Rebbe, he's introducing this idea, the Bizman Hazeh, the Avodah, is Shayach. I'm sorry, the union of Bechir belongs to Reuven. And Lasid Lavoi, the Bechira to Yosef. We're talking about Yosef and David. So that is going to explain, and this will explain more bariches, deeper, the Maila of, in the end, David, and Yosef and David. I didn't, okay, I need to see the Gemara. I forgot that this one didn't look up. So I'm bringing Baba Basra, Kuf Chav Gimel, so it's the third volume there. It's one thing I didn't look up. That Lasid Lavoi, the Bechira belongs to Yosef. Let's look it up and look it up here. Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. You look, try and find it. I'll find it here. It gets it quicker. Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole discussion is Prishnayim.
What am I looking for? Ephraim, Menashe, Reuven.
Yeah, it's a little bit down. Where's it lost? It says clear lost at Lavoi.
Trying to find.
No, Yosef became Mechayer as much that he got two portions already now. Okay, we'll have to look it up later though. Yeah, to look this up. I'll go upon him. So again, so why is that? Why is Reuven now in Lasad Lava Yosef? Because the difference between is how they're a Bechir. Reuven is a Bechir to his father and Yosef to his mother. And therefore now the Maila is the Char, the Zohar, the Mashpia. Therefore Reuven is the leader. He's the Iker, he's the Mashpia. Because he is a Bechir to his father. Whereas Lasad Lava, when they came at the Save of Gever, then Yosef is the Bechir because he is a Bechir to his mother. The end, he will say, glancing ahead, all true, but then David, even more so. David embodies Malchus. We'll see later that distinction between the Ma'ale of Yosef and the Ma'ale of David, Lasei Lovai. Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. Okay, so then the next paragraph, that's what he started to say. We find the beginning, that David was the Bechiris, and was taken away from them and given to the Kohanim. Fine. Now in square brackets, the long square brackets, he added A and B. Number one, he said that was because of the Chet HaEgel that's connected with Chet Tzadas. And that root of that is Hashem diminishing the Levon, and the root of that is Shviras HaKelim. Why is that Negel Chodesh, Shviras HaKelim? Because that's the root. Esav, Bemis Ismail Matoyo, he's the B'chor, he's Bemes higher than Yaakov, but it's taken away from him. That's the Shviras HaKelim. L'chayr, that's why he brings that. But the Mokim Ach is something I don't understand. I looked it up in Eira Torah. It doesn't say exactly what it says here. I reached out to Shalom Ber Cohen, and he had to answer me. I know he saw it, but he didn't answer what's shot in this Mokim Acher. So I'm not going to tell you my shilas on it. When I get the explanation, God willing, I'll share it with you. Now we'll continue Vinyan Bazeh. But the general idea we have, originally the B'chor, then it was given to the Koyanim. To explain this. Because right now, Adarabah, the B'chor is a Maila, and which Maila Dafka B'chor La'av, as opposed to B'chor La'im. But having said that, Ze'ogam Mashamotzinu, now let's see, that the B'choros lose it to the Koyanim. What's the connection? Binyan Bazedi, in a Yeshefesh ben Yichus, HaKoyanim Lichus HaB'chorim. There's a difference between the pedigree, what determines whether you're a Koyan or and a B'chor. Namely, Shakoyanim Nimshech Lemeina Kohuna Me'av. No, so we see that to be a Kohen, it's dependent only on the father. Doesn't matter if the mother is Kehenes, she's a Kehenes, or Yisraelis. Because the din is Yisraelis, or Leviah, a female Yisrael or Leviah, her father was Yisrael, her father was a Levi. Shenisas LeKohen, and she marries a Kohen, the child follows the father, and the child is a bona fide Kohen. So it follows through the father when it comes to kahuna. What determines a firstborn child? It's the mother. The first issue of the mother. He's a b'chor to whom? Not necessarily to his father, to his mother. Sanctified to me, all firstborn, all who open the womb first. Now having said what we did, we understand this. Therefore, today, the whole avodah is birudim, so the mashpia is the upper hand. Shema mevarer ban, ma is mevarer ban, ma is zo, and ban is malchus. Fishiku ha'tchar, the main thing is the male. Hanukvet tefillah in the female is subordinate. Tefillah, not subordinate, not secondary, is a better word. At any rate, as the avodah b'koyanim, so therefore the avodah is now on koyanim, shemisyachazim acharav, that follow the father. Achlosid lova, yushlam abira, when the birur is over, v'anukvat is'al, at least the kivdus of given, the female transcends even the male. Osti avodah b'b'chorim, then the avodah will be back to the b'chor, because shekdushosam tluya v'nimshachas maya'im. Because the b'chor gets his kedusha from the mother, and that's the maila of the kevet t'seiv of gever. Okay. So L'osid Lova, therefore Yosef, as you said before, is the B'chor belong to Yosef because he's B'chor L'Eim, because he's a B'chor to his mother, and Reuven is a B'chor to his father. So now Reuven dominates, but then it'll be Yosef because he's a B'chor to his mother, and that is the Mile of L'osid Lova, the Kevet T'seiv of Gever, the Mile of Malchus, the female. And David's role soon to be said. Because there's one other question. I think it's what you're asking it, but the Maim is going to ask it. You have to understand, even though the Kedusha of the B'chor it depends on the mother. It's her firstborn. The general, firstborn as inheriting double portion. Who determines that? That's the father. It's the father. So how is that? How does that reconcile? And that's not going to change. That's still going to be lasted love. How do we reconcile that? That's the question that's coming now. So it brings the psukim. The firstborn gets double portion because he is the first owner, means of his power, the father. He gets the firstborn right, little pishnaim to get double portion. Now, why will that endure? Mela now. Even the future also, the B'chayr will get a double portion, and that's a B'chayr that's exclusively the father. The Torah mitzvahs don't change. The Torah will not be changed. One of the Ikrim, of the Gimel Ikrim. I don't know why they're best to go in such an arichas. I mean, it's just... Anyway, Mikra Moli Dibra Kosev, and the Pasuk says this very plainly, and he quotes the Psukim in Pasuk Ha'tshek. So here they are, and also demonstrates them. I think maybe that's the Ikar he wants to talk about Rachel and Leah. Anyway, let's see inside. Kisyenel Ish, the Pasuk says, Kisyenel Ish, a person has two wives, Achas, whoever one is beloved. Now, the Rebbe adds, Kamei Rachel. V'achasnu, and the one is rejected, Kamei Leah. The Pasuk says, V'ya ben apchelasniya, and the firstborn will be born to the Snua, Leah, which is what happened. Reuven, Shebchela Aviv. He's the B'chayr to his father. So the Yuchel Levake cannot give precedence as Ben Ahuva, the son of the beloved. Who's that? Yosef, Yosef was the B'chayr to his mother, Rachel. I don't know if this is original from the Rebbe, this title, I'm first to say, but like when you see it, wow, that's the story. Al Pnei Ben Asnu Abchayr, you can't give him precedence over the son of the rejected wife, or the one that's not favored, which is Leah. You can't give him over the Abchayr can't give him precedence over the Abchayr to the father, La'aviv. So the Rebbe is saying this stays forever. So the Shaila is, if the mile is in the aim, so why when it comes to the mother and it comes to inheritance, it follows the father? Spelling out the question now. You don't point to any Mefarshim. You just need to look up if any Mefarshim make this association. Stares you in the face, right? It's mamash the story. The kivin shel asid lo v'yitisal an look for dafka since asid lo we're explaining that the ma'ila dafka of malchus of the makabel. Her source is deeper. Shalachein ti avoda b'pchayrim shketishosam tliyabim. That's what we said before, that the avoda now goes back to the pchayrim, not the kohenim. What happens to the kohenim? Also have to find out. So, but the pchayr, the kedusha, not for inheritance, but to be a pchayr in avoda. So that depends on the mother. When it comes to inheritance, it's not the mother, it's the father. Questions clear? Fascinating answer. It's quite a lot of chedushim in this maimer that even the pashtus coming up now. Inheritance, that doesn't define Yemaisa Mashiach. What is it? That's reward al klolos aved bizman hazeh. What we do now. Now the kiv, so it's midda connected midda. Big chiddush here. Kivin shaved bizman hazeh bin aberudim. Since the aved in zman agolos, in the elevating the world, which is the whole aved is adema shema dafka, which is the male ma mitzad ma'ila detcha, because of the ma'ila of the zachar. Ish darke lichvosh. It's the man that conquers, says the Gemara. The context there is whole discussion where the mitzvah pru ruvu applies to a woman or only to a male. So the Gemara says that the pasuk says, puts the two together. the commandment to conquer the world and multiply. So who conquers the world? The ish. Therefore, the tzivui to have children is on the male, not the female. That's the context. Pruruvu umilor it's v'chivshuha. So who's kavish the world? The male. So who's the pruruvu? At any rate, so that's now conquering. It's a milchama. And since so then there's the reward for that. So the reward is the result of what you did. So Allah said, when the female is elevated, that's why in general the Aved will be the Pchei, which comes from the mother, but still, the inheritance, the inherited reward, that depends on the firstborn, not to the mother, but the father. Its reward for the avoid that happened through the mila of the male. So therefore, that virtue then is present in the reward. That the nachla, which means the schar, then is to the father, because that's commensurate, that's midah keneged midah, the reward that came to the avodah of the male. What's still to be understood is, he's going to explain it. What about nekeva to save of gevet? Isn't that the ultimate state? And he was still giving a mila to tchar, to the union of Shema. Zo, not Malchus. That's explained now in the Zion.
It's al derech like we learned in why we're masker Yetzias Mitzrayim even afterwards for the mila of Iskafia. The mila of Iskafia.
It's not the answer.
Even after. No? Okay.
No, we'll see. No.
Okay.
No. It's a new answer, and it's a big chiddush of the Rebbe, which he later, in subsequent years, elaborated much greater. It could be. You see, it's in the Sichas Chelek Tesvav. I don't know if it's from that year, but it's maybe the first time they ever said this. I don't know. We'll see. It's based on the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, namely there's two stages in Moishe Mashiach. Let's see inside. Let's see. Chelek Tesvav, I was curious what year it was. I think it was later. Anyway. Now, in the Aliyah of Malchus and Mashiach comes, Yeshtam Kama Dargas, there's several Dargas. Yuvan Behektim Abir, this is also a whole Arichas. The explanation, by first preventing the explanation, the Maimar Azal, Asida Isha Shetel B'chol Yom, that a woman will give birth every day. And this has raised a whole spectrum, there's a whole pool of questions. But there is the dam that comes. What about the tahara? It's a whole discussion. Now, the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, just to complicate me, to tell you, it's famous, but the Alter Rebbe in Tanya in Geras HaKodesh brings the loshon mibia achas, which can be understood as from one intimacy, or mevia achas brings one korban, mevia, completely different pirush. So there's a letter of the Rebbe on it, and it's a whole. The end is it means the clearest conclusion. It means biachas means from one intimacy. It's a whole marashah, ganze Geschäft. But it's a thing to learn independently. They send us, I think, here, 46. Bishurim Sefer HaTanya, because when Rabbi Weinberg did his shurim on radio, the Rebbe edited his shurim and addressed this whole discussion. And the Sichas Chelek Yud Beis also deals with it. But anyway, what we need to know is, it says in Gemara that a woman will give birth every day. That's finished. Shesh b'zeh beis pirushim is two pirushim. Pirush achar, one is, this we brings in Tanya, she la'achari bia achas, one from one act, one intimacy, toisif eteliet b'chol yom, she will then give birth, successive births. every day. Now that, by the way, the Gemara says has a precedence. It's happened in history. From one intimacy of birth and led another birth. This is every day. That's one Piddush. Piddush HaBeis. Now, does this mean Bagashmius, gentlemen? I don't think so. Piddush HaBeis. Now, this gets really shocking. This is from the Mittel Rebbe. This is no source in Medrash. Without intimacy at all. Period. I feel not even once. This is similar. This is a source for this too. In Gemara, here's the source. Because this is like shocking. So what's the source? Siddur Yisrael, the same Gemara over there in Shabbos. Siddur Yisrael, shetoitzik lus kois. In Mashiach comes, the land will produce cakes. Or clay milas, that means clothing. Fine wool. Milas is fine wool clothing. What's that? That's not from seed and planting. It's not the seed. It's the land will produce it. Not plowing, planting at all. It's Aldera. She'll give birth without the mashpia. Doesn't need the mashpia. What does that mean? She's elefish. Malchus eretz tisale b'yoser. This Malchus, which is eretz, the earth, will be elevated so lofty. The source. Actually, it's stark mashpia klal. Klal doesn't need the mashpia. So what is it? Will Malchus receive the mashpia or not? There's two pirushim on Hasidah Isha, which is Malchus. Shetelet b'chol yom. Here comes the Rebbe's Kiddush. I mean, it's rooted in earlier sources. But Shnei pirushim mem is kiyadua, and so both explanations are true. Kiyadua shalosid lova year-based kufas. There are two epochs. Imkein abetkufa rishon. Huge chiddush coming. Betkufa rishon teted isha b'chol yom biachas. The first kufa is somewhat in still the current order, where there is a mashpia, but it's marginal. Biachas. Marginal hashpah. Very limited. Even though Malchus will be elevated in the first epoch, this is the immediate era of Mashiach's coming. Still, she will need the mashpia to stir her, as it were. But it's marginal. The second era, this is Tchias HaMeisim. This Allah Nukva B'Yoser Malchus is elevated higher still. I don't know if it says it. It could be it's connected to Dargas in Keser and Pnimis HaKeser. Atik. Actually, it's Tarech L'Tchar Klal, that Malchus doesn't require the mashpia at all. On the contrary, she's a mashpia. But Pizeh moving, and therefore, now it's going to answer a question. That answered that contradiction. Yes, male role or not. And now we're going to answer our question, what's P'chel Nachala doing Losid Lavoy when that's the father? When it's all about Malchus. And that's the first kufa. And a big chiddush coming now. No source for this. When it comes in the second era, inheritance, not from the father. No source that's not sending us anywhere. Because the mother, why should the father have a role there? It didn't. Why should it be determined by the father? There's no role in it. It's pure malchus. And the matter is as follows. The first epoch, the first era, again, that's the reward thing. And then it goes beyond reward. Reward is commensurate. The reward, the Yerusha, then, the inheritance is going to be like reward on the Avodah Bizman Hazeh, and therefore, just like the Avodah now is all the Mashpia, therefore, the reward is going to be one that highlights the Mashpia, and the inheritance is determined by the father. Because the Avodah now is the man conquering. Ma, which is refining ban. Probably the two berurim we spoke about before, earlier, right? We just remember now. We learned about this birur oichem b'tech pseilis. Remember in this Shabbos, this birur oichem in kedusha gufa. There's a birur. It's al derech going from bittul, like I mentioned yesterday, from bittul ayesh, which is kedusha, to bittul b'mitzias. That's the higher birur. It's like two levels of tshuva. Tshuva tatzot, tshuva yilah, lower hay, higher hay. Okay. But that's the first kufa. Aval achari is Yazman, we said, but then there'll be a time that the Rebbe hastens to add. Moreover, it's not going to be time, it's higher than Zman. He has to say this because Zman means already dargis and hierarchy. It's over. The source of Malchus is revealed, the etzem. So it's beyond Zman, meaning hierarchy. So then it'll be Naili Yosef, Gamma, Inya, the Tashlum Schash, it's beyond even the reward for your Avodah. The Pasuk says, and you the whole time the microphone's been over here. You guys heard me okay? No one complained. It's not going to pick up in the recording. But the Torah Chadosha will issue forth from me, which is a huge kasha. Torah Chadosha, what does it mean? There's no new Torah. We learned the contrast. I think we learned it. Yeah. But now comes this big chiddush. I mean, no source. The Rebbe is Poshet Megala, Torah Chadash of Mashiach. And that is, v'oz yagam b'pechor l'nachal min ha'eim. In this Meredith, the second kufa, the firstborn for inheritance beyond reward. It's the inyan atzmi. It's beyond reward. It's from the mother. Like the pechor, even now, is from the mother. That's why Yosef is going to be the pechor. The Gabi Abchayre the Reuven over the Bchayre of Reuven. Bchayre Oviv. So there is a mocker. So Yosef being the Bchayre is, but that was in terms of Avodah. The Rebbe is adding even in Yerusha. That's the Rebbe is adding. Need to get that Gemara. At any rate, Shehoye Bchayre Oviv. Reuven was a Bchayre to his father. But then it's going to be the Mile of Yosef. And the Fisher Oz Yis'al Hashem Ban, the Mile of Hashem Ban. Malchus ascends higher than Shema. So conclusion. Yosef is going to be the B'chor, not only in terms of the definition of the B'chor, but even Nachala, which is the reward. Ultimately, initially, that's going to be the first kufa, highlighting the Mila of the male, but in the second kufa, the law will change, the din will change. Therefore, Torah Chadosha, the B'chor Nachala, is from the mother, and Nachala, inheritance, means you inherit in the place of the. Doesn't I'm not going to add it. Mami doesn't add it. I'm not going to add it. Okay. Now, we need to think about this a little bit. The first kufa is a reward, tashlum schar, like midah keneged midah. Then comes the second kufa, it's pure malchus. I'm just what just occurs to me. I'm thinking just to put it in language again. So, what does it mean? This is my first thought. I got to think about it more. First thought is the reward is you did a good job. You did a good job, so you acknowledge that's the mile of the zachar. But then there's beyond that you did a good job. There's the essential relationship. What has this brought you to? This oneness, it's the pure malchus. Beyond the thank you. It's being. That this is true what I'm saying, but we need more. Yes. It's beyond the thank you, beyond the recognition, beyond the pat on the back, which the guy needs. It's the absolute oneness, the being, and that's what malchus is rooted in Kesed, in Atzmi. That's the point. It's Gilui Atzmus then. Okay, we'll think about it further and more easiest. Let's go further. But we still need to explain. So where's David in all this? It's Yosef. Yosef, at the end of the day, is Yesod. He belongs to, he's in the Mashpia world. But he's still Mashpia. David is the pure Malchus. Let's see now in the next paragraph. Yeah. Omnom. Ma'alasa shel Yosef, he loy mitzad atzmoi. The mile of Yosef is not him. Elarak mitzad Yosef chayli imay, because he's the firstborn to his mother. What does it mean? The kivin shelasid lovay to gadol mile so imboy's boyfriend shouldn't give it to save together. Since lasid lovay, the mile of the imboys of the mothers will be manifest, such even that so much so that in the cave of the female transcends the male. Achein to gadol miles Yosef. So Yosef is enhanced. Relative to Reuven, he has a mila because he's connected to Malchus, to the female. And Reuven's b'chayla aviv. So Yosef has a mila. We're saying now. Yosef and Reuven are both b'chaylim. Lasit lava, Yosef has the mila because he's a b'chayla imay. Good. But now we talk about the Shvatim, not Yosef and Reuven as firstborns. They're individuals within their Shvatim. They're the leaders of their Shvatim, even. But the Shevet itself, Harigam la'osed lovay, she Yosef, Yimadregen Naili Yosef, Yosef were very lofty. However, Malchus, loy etzel Yosef, el etzel Shevet Yehuda Dafke. Who's going to be Mashiach? Melech HaMashiach is Dafke from Yehuda, K'mesha Kosov, David Avdi, Nosir Lehem Lo'ilam. And David, my servant, will be their leader forever. The Hain will finish the paragraph. Vishalo said, Lovei tis'ale b'chines HaMalchus, because then Malchus is elevated, b'chines Shel David, that's David, Yosef b'chines Yesod, higher than Yesod. Yesod will be connected to, aim. That's Yosef. But still, he's Yesod. David is pure Malchus. Shezeo ili de Shemban, Yosef Mishemah. Then will be in Yisgala, the Shodesh of Shemban, higher than Shema. Well, Canal, as we said before, Shelah said, Love a year, Kais Yeshua is David. Who's going to bench? Who's going to bench by the big Fabrengen? Avraham said, not me, I had a Yishmael. And Yitzchak said, not me, I had an Esav. And Yaakov said, not me. What was Yaakov? I forgot it's Chesodin. Famous Gemara. I think the children were in conflict. Dafke David says, he's going to bench. So why? Because Kosishu is Esol, Maila Megvida Kakesed, it's elevated higher than the Gvir, the chalice, the goblet of Yosef. Interesting. I will bench, and to me it's appropriate to bench. Okay, so we're going to revisit this tomorrow. Summarize, Be'ezrat Hashem. Time to look at it, and then we'll conclude the Maimer. Very beautiful. A lot of Chidushim here in this Maimer. Tremendous.